But this is how a wedding or an arrangement would happen. The father would meet with the groom, and they would make an arrangement, and there would have to be a price that was paid for the bride, and Jesus paid that price. And as it would go on, they would be able to seal this. They would drink a glass of wine, or they would have a blood covenant that they would seal this arrangement. And from that moment, after the agreement was made between the father and the groom, the bride was considered married to the groom, or set apart, or the word we would use would be holy. The bride was considered holy and set apart and made only for the groom. Do you see the parallel or the comparison that we can see now today, because we already know what Jesus has done for us, and that Jesus paid the price for us, for our sin, to make us pure and make us holy. He already paid the price, right? That price had been paid for us, just like the groom would pay a price to be able to receive the bride. And as soon as the groom paid the price, then that was finalizing, right? That was it. The bride was considered to be married to the groom and no other. So even as we live right now as the bride of Christ, you are considered to be the grooms, which is Jesus. He's already paid the price for you. But here's what would happen. And the disciples understood this when Jesus was talking. The groom would then go, and he would go back to his own father's house. He would go back to his own father's house, and the bride would stay home. The bride would begin to make preparations for the wedding feast. So the bride would go through things and learn how to make a home, and whatever culturally was relevant at the time. The bride would go through a season of training and preparing to be ready for her groom. That's what the bride would do. The groom would go back to his father's house and begin to prepare a home for his bride. The groom would go back, prepare a home for his bride. And as the groom was preparing a home for his bride, the groom actually was not the one to make the decision of when it was time to go back to the bride. This is the only thing that they knew. They knew it would be somewhere between 8 to 10 months to prove the purity of the bride. Somewhere between 8 to 10 months, but the son would not know exactly when it was he could go get his bride. Only the father knew. And what we've learned from Scripture, even when we know that Jesus is going to come back eventually, we have this understanding. We know through Scripture that not even Jesus himself knows when he's going to return, but only the Father knows that time.